Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday live stream. A lot of things to go over, so let's just jump right into it. So, first of all, tomorrow we are actually going to have a Q&A session with Mr. Gordon, and he is going to be talking about the 1099 DA form. You don't know what that is? There's a link in the description when we talked about this form, and this form essentially is giving all the information to your centralized exchanges. Before, they would get limited. And now for 2025, they're giving absolutely everything. So if you haven't filed your taxes or done kind of fudge some things up like, Wesley Snipes, Ja Rule, and Pete Rose did, we're going to be here to help you to make sure that you are compliant, because unfortunately, the IRS knows everything now. So that'll be tomorrow. Q&A, links in the description, and the original video is also there. So today, though, what we are talking about is what's going on with the market. The market itself is, I think, relatively resistant and doing pretty well, actually. We dipped below the 4 trillion market cap. We come back. Bitcoin's down just a little bit, but then alts are just taking a beating, as they usually do. Ethereum, BNB, 0.5. Solana, Cardano, Tron, not too bad, and so on and so forth. Hyperliquid down 5%. And here's parts of the reasons why. Now, no one really knows the exact reasons for why this particular crypto is down, or why this altcoin is down, or why Bitcoin is down, because the people that play in the background, they can use any type of narrative and sell off and say, oh, it's because of this liquidation, or it's because of this news event. And who knows? But this is things that are going on, I think, that'll spook the market a little bit. First of all, the Zelensky-Trump meeting, and this is going on right now in the White House. Of course, this isn't a political channel, but the politics do make way into the crypto markets pretty regularly. And we can see that last week we had Trump meeting with Putin. Some people said it was a disaster. Some people said it was a big success. I don't have an opinion either way. I just know today that Trump met with Zelensky and a host of other European leaders, and it looked like it was going pretty good. Trump-Zelensky meeting, Trump, European leaders strike upbeat tone during talks. This is what happened, and I think it might be still going on, or is just wrapping up, but this is what's going on. Trump administration recently expressed support for security guarantees to prevent Russia from attacking again. And before we go on, let me just say, I know some people don't like talking about this. Some people hate this guy or love that guy, or whatever else it is. I just look at this and go, I really wish this war would be over so people could stop dying. That's pretty much all I'm really here for. He asked what security guarantees he needs. Zelensky replied, everything. Trump said the U.S. would be involved in some capacity. Interesting, alluding to a NATO-like arrangement led by Europe. Who's involved? French President Emmanuel Macron, NATO General Secretary General Mark Rutte, and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. I believe also the Prime Minister of Italy is there as well. What's on the schedule? Trump said that he will call Putin after Monday's meetings. That's great. He said he would like to host a trilateral summit with Zelensky and Putin to try to broker a deal. And that would be fantastic. If that happens, I mean, if you get peace in that region, I think that would be a big boom for the markets, and also for people not dying. That would be great. So with that, I was taking a look over at the Truth Social, and that seems very jolly, very welcoming. This is people coming in there for their big, I guess, press conference. And then there's Macron and Trump goofing around like they're old frat brothers. I found it very reassuring. And then, of course, this one was pretty good. I should link this in the description, but if you have Truth Social, you can find it over there. Look at and Trump, like just like buddies, just hanging out. So we'll see if this is actually a good thing or a bad thing. If Putin will actually come in, that's the side of what is going on with politics. Now we go to our markets, and of course, because of the volatility, we've seen a massive amount of liquidations, and this is what I think to myself. People say, well, this time is different and we're just going to go up and to the right. We're just going to have small pullbacks. I think there's a lot more leverage in the system, you're going to see more stuff like this. And in the last 24 hours, I don't know if you knew this, but roughly $500 million was wiped out. Longs, 442 million, shorts, 94.5 million. And you can see the biggest ones that got hit was ETH. And I just want to ask a quick question for everybody, and just put this in the comments. Do you feel less bullish, more bullish, or roughly the same as of last week when everybody was talking about Ethereum, myself included, and Tom Lee came out and it's like, hey, we got Bitmine and we're gonna We're going to have $1 billion as far as Ethereum, which they did do. And we're going to have a Ethereum treasury. It's going to catch fire, and we're going to keep going. And we see Ethereum at 14,000, 16,000. Some people made predictions of like over 30,000 per Ethereum. Are you still that bullish? I'm just curious, just to gauge the sentiment. Bitcoin was liquidated, 124 million, and others 44 million. Then across the board, you had some Solana, some Doge, some Litecoin, and I think Fartcoin may have gotten liquidated. So that's what we have for liquidations. Expect those to happen. And of course, this just means we can go up a little bit higher, hopefully. And then just be aware that this week is going to be pretty big, I think. Today we're on Monday. Nothing really big there. But tomorrow, the Fed Vice Chair, Michelle Bowman's going to talk. So maybe check that out. Maybe they'll give some little insights into any rate cuts. As far as Wednesday, August 20th, looks like the minutes of the Federal Reserve's July meeting, which could give us also some insights if we're going to see some rate cuts on September 17th. Hopefully we get 25 basis points. Thursday, of course, as usual, jobless claims come out, see where we're at. And then Friday, I think, is the big day, is Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaks from Jackson Hole, and everybody will be glued to that to see if he is on board to do some rate cutting. But we will see. So that's the macro, that's the politics, that's also in our space. And now just real quick, I want to talk to you about adoption. And I keep getting this same reoccurring theme, which is this time is different, 4-year cycles are dead. And I think a lot of people believe that. I don't. I just want to ask a question like, what's it going to take? This is from Nate Garaci. I think I said that, Garaci. Maybe I said that right. But Nate here, President Nova Diaz Wealth, host of ETF Prime, co-founder of ETF Institute. Guy's traditional finance, get the point. And it was interesting, he put this out, vast majority of investors in Bank of America, a global fund manager survey. So all these different Wall Streets, TradFi people. And they asked them a question like, how much exposure do you have to crypto? And most of them have zero. Of the small percentage that do have exposure on Wall Street, the average portfolio allocation is only 3.2%. So I have a question, which is, we see that the ETFs are taking off. We see that BlackRock's on board. They're the biggest asset manager with trillions of assets under management. We have the current administration, which is saying they want to make USA the Bitcoin and crypto capital of the world. We have institutions like MicroStrategy. We have sovereign wealth funds gobbling it up. But yet we've got Wall Street on the sidelines just going, nah, we don't really know if we want to get into this. Is this just stupidity, or is this just how it is? And it's just going to take a lot longer for mass adoption. Again, people say this time it's different. I'm not so sure, because I see stuff like this and I think to myself, what is it really going to take to really push this into the next level? Maybe I'm just missing something. Anyhow, let me know what you think about that in the comments section. But there is good news. Michael Saylor is here to save the day as he buys up another a paltry $50 million worth of Bitcoin. And just so you know, MicroStrategy has roughly 3% of the entire supply of Bitcoin. As you can see here, the percent of 21 million, which you have to remember, 6 million is lost. I mean, all those different wallets, they're gone. They're not going to be coming back. Satoshi Nakamoto's wallets, plural, they're not going to move anything. So I honestly think that percentage is much higher. But MicroStrategy has 629,376 Bitcoin and does not seem to slow down. And I like this part of MicroStrategy, as they buy and hold and don't sell. Also, if you didn't know this, I believe that Michael Saylor has no kids, and he's not going to leave that to anybody. It's just going to be in a trust. And the whole direction with Michael Saylor, when he passes away, we all are going that route, is to never sell that Bitcoin. So I like that. But again, there's just these things that haunt me. And maybe it's because I have PTSD from 2021 and everything that happened, but I just don't trust anybody. And it is what it is. So there's this post. And I've been seeing a lot of things coming up about a negativity towards Michael Saylor. And I remember the same thing happening for a lot of the prominent members back in 2021. You know who they are. And I'm not here to say that Michael Saylor is doing anything wrong, but we talked about, there was a podcast, I think it was What Bitcoin Did. And they had a couple people on, and they talked about what MicroStrategy is doing. Is it a Ponzi scheme? Which is a pretty pretty gross, a pretty large different aspect to call a company, but it's been more and more. And this is from Jacob King, Whale Wire's got 500,000 subscribers. And he says, and this is interesting, he says, Saylor pulled the rug. I've been warning people for months that he's a sleazy corporate fraud. That's what Jacob's saying. I don't make the rules. He lied to investors and promised MicroStrategy wouldn't issue stock below 2.5x MNAV, but with the premium crashing 3.4x to 1.6x since November, he quietly eroded to management flexibility. What does it mean? How can dilute shareholders anytime it benefits them? Never about Bitcoin, it's about Saylor cashing in. And look, I'm not here to call anybody a fraud because I don't want to get sued like a couple of different people are getting sued right now by Michael Saylor or MicroStrategy for saying those things. So you won't hear it from me. But it is interesting. You've got that, and there's a story about Michael Saylor, how he the dot-com bubble, he lost, I think he says, Michael Saylor lost over almost $7 billion a single day, making him the biggest recipient of the losses of the entire dot-com bubble. And he was charged by the SEC and so on and so forth. So I'm not here to say like this is the most awful thing. I'm just saying that sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. And we all lived through 2021. I'm just saying be careful. And lastly, before we get into a little Q&A and everybody tells me what a moron I am, this time is different. And it is in a way, but is it really? Because I just wanted to, I'm putting this little piece together about how things are the same, but how they are a little bit different. And I go back to 2017. And the way it's different, just like 2017 and 2021, in 2025, there's a lot of enthusiasm around it. And there should be as far as Bitcoin and digital assets. The question is when? How much time is it going to take? How much for mass adoption? Like we just took a look at that Bank of America, that survey. Valuations are stretched. Bitcoin's already above 120K. Some people are saying it's only going to be 150K. Some people are saying 200, 250, 350. Some are saying $1 million, but that'll be in 5 years. Historically, though, whenever parabolic growth outruns adoption fundamentals, it ends in a sharp correction. There's a ton of leverage in the system. We just took a look at leverage, $500 million out. A lot of things could happen from here until the bull run in 2026. 2017, there was a lot of retail and unregulated exchanges. That changed, and those unregulated became regulated exchanges for FTX, Three House Capital, Celsius, over-leveraged derivatives. In 2025, it's more regulated, but institutional leverage, structured products, and option markets are at all-time highs. If Bitcoin corrects hard, which I think at some point it will, it may not be the 77% it was last time. Maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 30%. But if it drops 30% Bitcoin, what do you think happens to your alts? Anyhow, forced liquidations with all coins plunging more. Macro liquidity, 2020 crash was triggered by the Fed tightening. 2025 is being fueled by expectations of Fed easing, right? Money printing, cutting those rates. But if inflation flares up or the Fed delays cuts, crypto could retrace violently because this cycle is still macro dependent. And this is another thing, last thing I'll say, is even if we do get rate cuts, at some point, what does that mean for the economy? When we cut the rates, that's great. People start getting more loans, and that leads to more inflation. And inflation has to be under control at some point. So what do? Well, if you have to do money printing, that leads to more inflation, correct? We've talked about this ad nauseum. So when these things happen, it's a great thing for a small amount of time, but can we keep it up? It's anybody's guess. And the question is, it's not a question of if, but it's a question of when. And that's pretty much all I want to go into today. And we'll go from there. Anyhow, that's it for today. Like today's video, which was relatively balanced, consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. Now let's get in a little Q&A and we'll go over early questions and we'll go from there. All right, what do we have? D.A.N says, I'm not touching ETH until gas fees are in the pennies. Ridiculous. I've been moving things around with Ethereum. It seems to be relatively cheap. It wasn't like the $10, $12, $15 days in 2021. So I want to say it was like 21 cents, 5 cents to move things around on the Ethereum main chain, not like Arbitrum or Polygon or something like that. So in that situation, I think it is actually getting better. But I think there was some updates for Ethereum, and they've made some pretty good strides. Anyhow, correct me in the comments. Hello, Mohammed. Vanguard would be nice. That's true. Uzi says Walmart. Well, Walmart. Wall Street is sleeping. They wake up when Bitcoin gets national reserve. Yeah, I think that's a lot of people though. But it's just funny to me. They're supposed to be on top of these things. They're supposed to be staring there for different trends and to, either make money for themselves or make money for their clients. And I just find it interesting that these fund managers are like, yeah, 3.2%. And it's only like less than, I think it's less than, well, it's 3.2, but there's very low amounts of them actually dabbling into it. And I'm just thinking to myself, what's it going to take for Bitcoin to get to $1 billion per coin? I don't know. Canet says the 4-time cycle will be much longer, 2025, just my opinion, Polygon Network. There was a theory about elongated cycles. If you take a look at how cycles have actually increased as time has gone on, it made a lot of sense even last time. But you can see how maybe it could reach into 2026. And actually, I've been working on something about taking a look at altcoin seasons. And what I wanted to show everybody, and I'll do this in a separate video, but this is just looking at the last cycle. And there's a term that we use called throwing sand in the ocean. And it seems kind of ridiculous and it never is going to pile up. But I show you on this presentation, which I'll get to at some point, is just how things work, just depending on the timing and where we're at right now. We're in, 18th of August, 2025. I just went back 4 years and took a look at just how things would play out if you started to go in heavy right now. And I got to tell you, it's not looking good. But I'll do that video later, and we'll go from there. Let's see. Or get pushed out. Ooh, I didn't know that. Love that Kraken is making runes available for the masses, like dog. Can't spell runes without run. Let's hope so, because I have a bunch of dog. Rob is not enough insider trading into crypto for guaranteeing quick gains. Ask Pelosi why her husband isn't in crypto. Nancy Pelosi gets so much hate, and I don't understand. Actually, I do. It's because she's guilty of insider trading. No, Vanguard owns majority of MicroStrategy stock, though. See, there you go. Why aren't they pushing that onto? They should be pushing it onto their customers. Good evening. No direct ETF. Soul Guy said, I'm pretty sure he only promised never to sell his personal Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe. Sonic, I don't know what that is. Whenever I see comments like this time is different, no more bear markets, an extended cycle, it gives me 21 deja vu. Back then it was institutions will never let Bitcoin fall again in super cycle. Yeah, but even me, I said that I didn't think ETFs were going to come through, and they did. So it's not like everybody's right all the time. Actually, there was a blog post, and they took a look at all the different price predictions and predictions of crypto markets from going all the way back to like 2014. And it found out that 75 to 80% of people were totally wrong. And a very small amount of people actually got it right. So who knows? I mean, maybe I'm the only or one of the few that thinks that we will have Bitcoin winter, and we'll have some pretty massive pullbacks, but who knows? I will be selling appropriately. We'll say that. Papa Guth says, no way it even breaks 150K in the next 3 months. This is true. Greetings from Florida. And I do remember this. Estonian Reefer. Remember Tesla's $1.5 billion buy looking bullish, but they dumped most of it later. Yeah, just like all the different countries that did the same thing. And I think they regret it. Maybe. I don't know. And not that there was a post, and I wish I could bring it up, but there was a post of a guy who sold some Bitcoin because he had to do a remodeling of his house. And it was actually not like a remodeling to make it look great, but he had some things to fix, some things that didn't work. And he goes, it's a big relief. And people were giving a bunch of trash on the forums on Twitter. And he's like, I just needed to sell it. To me, I look at Bitcoin as just like every other instrument. It's just a tool, and it's there for freedom. It doesn't mean like if you just hold it and hang on to it and you'll have freedom. You have to actually use it for its intended purpose, whatever that is, and whatever your goals are. So for him, his goal was to, have a running toilet and to be able to fix his dishwasher without it breaking all the time. So in that situation, I'm like, why don't you sell a little bit of Bitcoin? That makes your life better. We're only on this planet. I mean, guys, statistically 76 years, women 82 years. You might as well enjoy it now, because what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to give it to my kids. They won't appreciate it. You'll tell them how great it is, and they'll probably sell it as soon as they can. There's a reason why I think a lot of people don't leave a ton of money to their kids, because the kids just waste it. I'm not saying you can't help the kids. I'm just saying inflation goes back. It's true. At least the assets will rise. Tim's got a good one. Sell 5% November. Nothing wrong with that. AWD says, I don't think we'll get these big corrections. I think over time have gotten lower highs and higher lows. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get corrections like we did from 2013 to 2014 was 87%. Or no, 2017 to 2018, 87. 86. And then 2021 to 2022 was roughly 77%. I don't think we're going to get into the 70s, 80s, but I can see 50s and 40s. And again, imagine if you have Bitcoin that's at 150,000 and you get a correction of 50% and it goes on to 75,000, what do you think is going to happen to Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, BNB, Hyperliquid, SWI, Chainlink, you name it? It's going to go down way more than that. So, yeah, they keep repeating the same propaganda about Ethereum. I had no problem with that propaganda as long as the price goes up. Oh, Soul Guy says your property's okay with the weather. Yeah, I mean, there was a Hurricane Aaron, I think it is, that it was a Cat 3, went to a Cat 5, and then it passed to the north of Puerto Rico. And all we got was power outages, which happens when there's no hurricane or tropical storm, and a little bit of rain. And that was it. And so there's no problem so far. But it's going into the northeast. I don't think it's going to hit the land of any landfall in the mainland U.S. So I think everything's doing pretty good. Dan's a big spender. Rob seems frugal. Are we there yet? I am very frugal. I don't need much. That's the thing. I think the 4-year cycle is only going to apply for products that aren't gaining adoption. Yeah, that could be it. I still maintain the thesis that stable coins will be big because of the Genius Act. It'll be great for the United States because that'll back the treasuries. People have to actually hold dollars or treasuries to back their stable coins. And what does that mean? Well, you got USDC and Tether, and the top 4 so far are Ethereum, Tron, BNB, Solana, I think. Is that the right ones? Let's take a look. I could be wrong on this one. Here's the Visa on-chain analytics. Visa tracks this. I think they realize which way things are going. Yeah. So this is stablecoin transaction volume by blockchain. It's good something to look at. Ethereum, Tron, Binance Smart Chain, Solana. Tron, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Solana. Ethereum, Tron, Base by Binance Smart Chain. Great. BSC, Base, Tron, Ethereum. And then Base is just off of Ethereum. So same thing. But then there's another one, transaction count. And we got Binance, Tron, Solana, Polygon. Oh, interesting. That's weird. Binance, Tron, Solana, Polygon. What happened to Polygon? Binance, Tron, Solana, Polygon, transaction count. Huh. And Ethereum is the base down there. Not too bad. Whatever happened to Polygon? I thought it was going to be the future. Michael said, I've switched out of Bitcoin now for alts. The X gain from this point makes sense. Yeah. Sonic is the old Phantom. Midhat says, do you think the September cut is already priced in? I mean, if you look at the percentages for the CME, you can see it's at over 84% now. I think it was at 92, and then it dropped off. Right now we're looking at, 84%. So I'm pretty sure, but you'll still see a bump because you never know what Jerome's going to do. He could just be like, hey, look, we know that the unemployment rate is going down, or going up. But we have a dual mandate for inflation. And inflation is going up. We saw that with CPI and PPI numbers. So we're not going to cut. I mean, it could happen. We'll see what Jerome says on Friday for his press conference. But if it is priced in and he comes out and says no rate cuts, watch the market tumble. Kamikaze says, do you think large institutions could be the bag holders this cycle? They'll find a way to sneak it onto the retail. So no. Uzi says, Rob, Chainlink is crushing it. It is, and I'm glad that it's actually getting its due respect. How many oracles are out there? Every chain's going to need some type of oracle, and Chainlink is one of the biggest and probably one of the most stable. So I'll take it. Van says, are you selling your Bitcoin too or only alts? I have to sell some Bitcoin. I have to. But alts will be between 80 and 100%. No problems with that. Anything else? Dump. And that's the thing about buying Bitcoin, because it's hard to give up, you know? And you don't want to, because you're like, well, you know, if I hold on to it. But at some point, I mean, just think of it this way. And of course, there's different people out there. First of all, there's people that are honest. And they're like, I'll never sell it. And there's the people that are just dirty liars who tell you they'll never sell it. And behind your back, they sell it all day long. And those are the same people you see on YouTube and other social media platforms. But when you have somebody who's not selling, and then of course they sell it like crazy, I think it's because when you buy Bitcoin, there's some party that just says, you know, I know if I don't sell this, I know it'll go up in appreciating value. The problem is we know how drawdowns can go. And if you're like a Michael Saylor, who's like, I'm never going to sell, and that's just pretty much how it is, that's a different, I'm not a billionaire with stock options. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm not. So with that, I'm going to have to sell some of it because I think there's a nice little retracement. And if it does go down 40, imagine if it does go down 40%, which would be a far cry from the 77% from last time. But it goes down 40%. And you're sitting there just watching it go down, down, and down, and down. And you could have actually taken one Bitcoin, sold it, and it went down 40%, and you can buy it back up for the same, or you can just buy more, which would be even better. To me, I look at that and I go, why wouldn't I do that? Andrew said, brother, I've been killing myself to give my two boys a nest egg. I hope you're wrong. They don't just blow it because I'm living a pauper trying to create greater ops for them. Put it in trust. I'll ask Andrew about this tomorrow. He does these things. But instead of just, like, we help our kids right now instead of waiting until we die, because, you know, who knows how long that could take. But you put things in a trust and you leak it to them over time, then it's not so much like, hey, here's 20 Bitcoin. And don't screw this up. It's going to be very difficult, I think. So not fatherly advice, but I would put things in a trust. Goddamn bugs. And not give it all to them at once. Let's see. Bitcoin will be traded just like the stocks, most likely. Maybe, maybe not. I'm ready to sell and buy my 20 acres in Texas. That sounds pretty good. Circle stocks good. I have some of that. I hope it does really well. Oh, Dads is here. It means we have more companies issuing a stablecoin that can fail with a couple of exchanges towards the beginning of the bear. Something will implode just like the last time. Yeah, I think when we have more and more different stablecoins that are out there, like USDC and Tether is 93% of the entire stablecoin market, right? Once you start to get Ripple and RLUSD, and you start to get any kind of like base on or any stable coin that's specific to other chains, you start to run that risk of things just kind of collapsing. I'm not a big fan of that either. But, you know, I'm a fan of the chains working it. That's the best thing. But yeah, I think that things could go awry. So I'll take it with that. Days with Wade. Rob, what's your stress level about crypto right now? Are you worried you'll sell too late? I'm worried that I'll sell too early. And I'm not too stressed out. Because I think we're all up pretty good. If we've been buying in the bear market, which most of us, almost all of us have. Like right now, it just depends on, you know, what are the gains going to be. And the bigger thing is you know, for me is like, who's going to try to scam me? Who's going to try to steal it from me? Where's it going to go? So I'm not really concerned about the selling off, because I'm okay with the fact that I'm never going to time the top perfectly. I'm never going to buy the absolute bottom, kind of like the Rothschilds, as he says. If I get to within 60% of the top, I'll be very happy. And that's pretty much it. And I really don't need much to live. So am I the only one that MicroStrategy and Saylor really cause the next collapse in the market? No. I've said this as well. But, you know, it's funny because, like, you see a lot of these things come out at the same time about Saylor MicroStrategy. Maybe it's an organized type of hit against them. I don't know. But it makes you think. And it just reminds me of, like, how remember how we put Sam Bankman on a pedestal last time? And, like, Alex Mashinsky from Celsius. And you just never would think that, you know, things were Ponzi-ish behind the scenes, and there you go. So if this happens and it does go down like that, that'd be pretty awful. Let's see. Circle is the main energy. Polygon, yeah, you said it. What happened? Can't believe it myself. That was a gem. It was a gem. I used to have a lot of it. D. Godfather says, do you think September is going to be a bad month with lots of red? Great buying zones. Yeah, that's true. I also think, you know, we have the Fed Reserve, their board meeting on September 17th. So if they come out and cut rates like we think they are, I think September could be a great month. But if Jerome comes out and says, you know, we just can't do it. We're really worried about tariffs. We think that inflation is going to go way too high, especially with the producer price index coming out for core PPI. We're just going to hold off on that. And if that happens, then the market will tumble badly until probably the end of September. And then October, November, December, we'll work our way back up. Yeah, now it's gone. Oh, that's right. Flare's oracles, but it's a young project. Yeah, it just depends on who's using it or not. James says, Rob, can CoinLedger really calculate accurate profit and loss from cost basis if a crypto was sent to a hardware wallet from an exchange? Yes, because just like, James, if I asked you, say, James, I need your Bitcoin address, your public address, not your private, I need your public Bitcoin address, because I'm going to send you 2 Bitcoin when you send me. I'm just kidding. I'm going to send you some Bitcoin, right? You send me that public address, and actually, I could paste your public address right now, and people could send you Bitcoin all day long. Well, they could also look up how much Bitcoin you have in that particular wallet. So when you actually connect CoinLedger, which is a tax software, it's also a portfolio tracker that's free. When you connect for API integration into your exchanges, which is just read-only, they're going to ask you, if you want to put in your public Bitcoin wallet address into the program, and it can track where it goes from there. So even if you take it there and you say, okay, I moved 1 Bitcoin from Kraken back in 2023. And then as today, it's sitting right there, and it notices that there's been no movement. It's right there. You haven't sent it to somebody, or it's been gone, or whatever else. It's not out of your control. It'll just calculate the cost basis. You, James, bought it for $30,000. Now it's with $116,000. So you're at whatever, $85,000 cost basis. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, I can do it. It's just you got to put in all the data. And if you guys need me to do a video on that, I'll gladly do it. Jay Miles says, don't sell, take a loan against it. I'm not a big fan of loans either. I'm just not. I mean, I know the whole theory behind it, which is if you take a loan against it, you don't. And actually, who was it? It wasn't T&D Tesla. Somebody said, and they had a good point, if you do a loan and you get margin called, right? Let's say you want 50,000. Okay, they say, okay, give us 100,000 worth of Bitcoin. Okay, here's 100,000 Bitcoin. And then we get into this drawdown. And then Bitcoin goes down magnificently, 30, 40, 50%, or whatever else it is. And you get margin called. You're like, I don't have anything left, sorry. So then they liquidate you. So you're on the hook for capital gains tax. short-term or long-term, depending on how long it was, for the liquidation of that part. And here's the worst part. I didn't think of it this way. If your Bitcoin that you purchased for like 20,000, then went up to 50,000, so now you have an appreciating value of 30,000, and you get margin called for everything, you might own a percentage. And I'll ask this to Andrew tomorrow. You are going to get on the hook for a part of that capital gains part. So I'm not 100% on that one, but I know if you get liquidated on loan, for the amount that you took out, you are on the hook for capital gains on that one, which is a big bummer. So you have that. And then, another big thing is that people usually don't take loans in the bear market. They usually take when things are going crazy high, like right now. And then they're like, it'll never go down. And then they get called out. So as long as you've got enough, if you've got 10 Bitcoin and you take out a loan for 0.10 Bitcoin, sure, I can see it. 6 from the top means sell pretty much now. Yeah, not a bad idea, actually. Service on the face melting. No. And AJ says, we miss you on NFA. Yeah, I was traveling. Whose channel? I think it's Ben's channel. No, I think it's Ben's. Bitcoin was made to not trust anyone. So to those who are trusting in it, it's them. All right. Okay. $1 a week. Borrow against your Bitcoin. In my own opinion, is kind of like leverage trading around. Yeah. And that's what people want to do, though. That's up to them. I mean, who am I to say? I won't give up on DOT. That's good of you. Crypto Academy says, I'm a fan of taking loans too against Bitcoin, but not at this time. I would think about that in 5 to 10 years. These large institutions will have solid products when you can do that. I agree. How often do you swim in the indoor pool? Every day. It's very difficult to swim upstream on a green screen. Just kidding. Don't sell in the bear. I want to be Rob. I think you're aiming low for your standards, but I appreciate it. Super cycle. I'm not on that. And lastly, Bars asks, do you trade futures? I don't. I don't trade futures or perps or anything like that. I'm just not that guy. Other stuff to do. Anyhow, that's it for tonight. So look, everybody, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. Tomorrow, again, we'll be going over 2 things. We'll be having the Q&A with Andrew Gordon from Gordon Law, and we'll have Kemmer, who is the CEO of Coin Ledger. And we're going to go over the tax rule 1099. If you don't know why this is important, there's a link in the description which takes you to this video where I talk about Wesley Snipes' job rule, Pete Rose, and Willie Nelson. And actually, I talk about why the exchanges now know everything, and it's not a good time for tax evaders. That's it. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Adios.